Hello, I'm Dr. Will Petersen, Director of Bands and Associate Professor of Music for Tuba and Euphonium here at the University of South Alabama. I'm here with you today to talk about the All-State Tuba Lyrical excerpt for Alabama All-State 2019-2020. This is actually number 23 out of the Blazevich book, which is one of the standard rep Etude books for the tuba that lots of high school and college players play out of. One that I played out of, and this is actually one of my favorite of all of the etudes. It's really quite beautiful and has a lot of music in it. And you'll notice at the very beginning, one of the things that you have to be very, very careful of is making sure that you are playing true slurs. And one of the things that I do is I use a lot of wind patterns with my students and also a lot of buzzing and a lot of singing. And this is a great etude to make sure that you start doing singing. You know, start singing, and I like to tell my students to do something called sing, buzz, play, which is actually an Arnold Jacobs idea, this idea of singing through a line and then buzzing it so that we can get it into our face a little bit and get that matching of the pitch and matching of the buzz so that we get the instrument to work for us instead of against us. And then when we put it on the horn, it comes out so much easier. Now, this is in 6/4, but there's definitely a lilt to it. And if you keep the metronome on, and the 88 marking is really a good, nice middle of the road walking tempo through there, you keep that forward motion. But one of the things that you have to be very aware of is that you don't get too choppy when you get to the tenuto eighth notes that happen in, for example, in measure 2 and 3. And that happens a lot. One of the other things you need to decide is where are you going to breathe? And I think there are a lot of different ways that you can go ahead and phrase this, but as tuba players, we need to, number one, make sure we are always making a great sound and never try to force a phrase so long or part of a phrase so long that we don't have the support we need. And every one of us is different. Some people are going to have bigger lung capacities than me, and some are going to have smaller. So you have to plan out your breathing so that if you do have to break a phrase, for example, you can break that phrase musically so that nobody really even notices that it happened. And that's really the sign of some great musicality, especially out of tuba players, because there are lots of times that we have to do those types of things in order for us to make some of the phrases that might be easier for our trumpet, clarinet, oboe counterparts, where they don't have to take nearly the number of breaths that we do. One of the instruments that's very close in relationship to us as far as use of air is flute. And one of the things you'll notice is listen to some flute players and listen to how some great flute players, if you listen on iTunes or Spotify, how they phrase, how they break phrases if they have to. And that's a great way to learn more about how to deal with melody, especially when you're a tuba player and you don't get as much melody, except in these places where you're trying out for All-State or maybe doing a solo or with your private teacher. The more melody you can do, the better. Now, as we go through this, as you look into the third line, we kind of have a reprise of that same idea, but then we just have some adjustments. And you'll notice that there are accidentals. And you want to kind of lead into those accidentals because those accidentals a lot of times are kind of this extended harmonic structure. We're kind of adding tension at these points. So you kind of want to think about how you want to lead into those places. And so sometimes those places are places you want to bring out. Not all the time, but as you practice, you'll start to figure out where those fit in the phrase. You'll also notice that a lot of times you'll notice that the slur markings make it look like it's a little bit broken apart. Take the time to figure out where the larger phrases are in this piece, not just the little incipient points of these little parts of the melody, but where the big structure is. Not only the big structure in this song form where we have just kind of an opening and a couple different adjustments, and then we come back to a recap, but also to look at where are the phrases. And I think that will give you an idea of how you want to prepare this piece and how you want to practice as you go through. One of the things that is tricky is making sure that you count appropriately and thinking about those notes that come on the ends of phrases or on the ends of some of these bar lines, really thinking of those as a pickup and not trying to push those into the previous measure, but actually connect them with the upcoming material, especially when you're going from line to the next line. As you move towards the end, there's a metamoso there and a retard, and that retard pulls back quite a bit. And you can be pretty free, and you will hear in my recording that I'm pretty free with the end of this. But as you go through, make sure that you're very attentive, especially like at a place like the metamoso where you see it slurred, and then it comes back to that tenuto connected articulation. I like to think of a do articulation, something that connects to it, and then it comes back to the slur. So really attention to detail in this as far as where you're slurring, making sure you're truly slurring, and then your legato tonguing are going to be very important as you go through. Wish you all the best in your preparation. Good luck on your audition. Hopefully these comments have been helpful, as well as the podcast. If you have any questions, feel free to send me an email at wpetersen, Petersen, @southalabama.edu. Take care.